Hello, and welcome to this new series, Christian Meditation, the Prayer of the Heart. This is a new series for TCN, and its intention is to enrich or even introduce, if that is what it is, you to an understanding of the practice of meditation as a form of prayer, meditation in the Christian tradition. To do this, my guests today are three members of our leadership team of the World Community for Christian Meditation, Trinidad and Tobago. So I am going to introduce you now to my fellow team members. I am one of the committee members. My name is Michelle. And here on my left, immediate left, is Sister Ruth Montrechard, who is our national coordinator for Trinidad and Tobago, has been from the inception of this organization, and recently appointed national coordinator for the Caribbean. Next to Sister is Suzanne Dowdy, who I know fondly as Dow, and who you probably know well from TCN, as she hosts her own program on TCN. Dow is leading member of the Living Water community, but she also is on our team. And next to Dow's left, is Judy Mcsween. Judy leads a meditation group in Trinidad and Tobago, is part of our leadership team, and also has been one of the people who has integrated meditation practice on a professional level into her professional life, and she will tell you more about that. So to begin our discussion today, I'm just going to pose a couple of questions that we will just play around with, engage in, and have a conversation in general that will hopefully leave you with a deeper understanding of what meditation practice is and how it has impacted on our lives. So Sister, let me start with you. Let me open my little book and let me ask my first question. And that is, what in your view is meditation? What is meditation? People hear this all the time, and it still remains a vague topic for many of us. What would you say?
Well, for me, I think meditation is like, for me, it's like coming home. You know, when you finish a day's work and you have been exposed to all the hassle and the confusion and the noise, and you get home and you close that door and you say, okay, this is where I am meant to be. This is where I can be myself. This is where I can be refreshed. This is where I can be comfortable. So for me, meditation, the 2 times of meditation every day, where we advise to meditate every morning and meditate every afternoon, it is a sense to me of coming to a place where I should be, where I want to be. It is a place of silence. It is a place of stillness. And that really, that inner stillness and silence leads to a sense of peace and calm, where you can be yourself. On another level, meditation, of course, in the Christian tradition, it was rediscovered by a priest called John Main, and he went back to the very early monks and mothers and fathers of the desert, and there he discovered that in the Christian tradition there was also meditation. In the past, we also always connected meditation with Eastern religions, but here it was in the Christian religion, and it was sort of ignored for many years. On the level of Christian practice, meditation is called the prayer of the heart. We know that we pray often with our minds when we read the scriptures, with our imagination, with our voice, and all these forms of prayer are good forms of prayer. But in this type of prayer, it's called prayer of the heart, we move from our mind to our heart. And it's a prayer of being with God, not particularly thinking about God or talking to God. It is being with. As if when you're in love with somebody, you don't even want to only to think about them, you want to be with them. So on a deeper level, it is a form of prayer that leads you into deeper relationship with God.
I think we can all now go home.
Ruth
sister,
has said
that
it
is
all.
so beautiful,
Yes.
so beautiful and so complete in so many ways,
Well,
even for me who have
yeah.
been meditating for such a long time. Soda, what do you have to add to that?
I tell you, she's really left not much for us to say. But I think you use the analogy of coming home. And I think for me, in the experience of meditation, it's not that, of course, I'm a diver, but for me, it's going underwater. It's leaving the roar of noise and confusion that is often above water. And when you go underwater, even if it's very shallow, that there's that silence, and it's a different kind of silence to the silence you experience in a room or anything. It's well, I think we've all experienced that, and it's just the most amazing connection with God, that you've left all that noise and you've sort of gone underwater, and you do that for me in meditation, and it's just that complete peaceful stillness and silence. I think that's what it is for me, and of course that's why it's just coming away from the noise of the world. I suppose Sister Ruth may understand, as with me, that we both, I'm a consecrated person, lay person, but we probably have the same sort of prayer life where we have the prayer of the church and the liturgy throughout the hours.
The office.
The office. We begin at home with our office, and we pray the Psalms, and all of that type of prayer is praying all the Psalms at different times of the day, and it's all sorts of audible prayers. But this now, the meditation is completely silent, and just saying your words, saying your mantra, which is so different to the office, and to praying the Psalms, which you pray out loud. So for me,
It's
that's
so interesting to me that in both the case of you and sister so far, and I'm coming to you, Julie, I'm not jumping into it here, but is that the gestures of your body, when you started to talk about meditation, you started to do this,
Okay.
as opposed to doing this. So when you sort of like a suggestion, like praying the Psalms, praying the office, can often be about an outward act.
Yes.
Maybe an upward act, but this is very much an inward act and a downward act almost into your center. You agree?
Definitely.
And I was just going by the hand motions. What about from the Christian perspective? What do you think makes it specifically or uniquely Christian?
I think, well, one, the word, the mantra that we use is Maranatha, come Lord Jesus. So for me that, is sort of the essence of it. But also the fact that, for me personally, and those of us who meditate in this, the Christian meditation, is that our desire is to be close to Jesus. Our desire is that Jesus should come into our heart. The whole essence of it is just that desire to be closer to Jesus. So for me, that's what makes it Christian. That even though I may not be praying any other word other than the mantra means come Lord Jesus. So I'm inviting Jesus into my heart, into this place, into wherever I am. And my deepest desire is to be close to Jesus, to see his face, to experience Jesus in every moment of my life. So for me, that's what makes it Christian. I'm not desiring anything else when I meditate, but to be close to Jesus and to have him, come into me, come into my heart. So that makes it Christian for me.
Oh, that's beautiful. Okay, two beautiful responses there, Judy.
Yeah, boy. I feel as if I'm one of these game shows now. So I am not one of those who has to recite the office every day, but I certainly begin the day with the meditation and try to close it with the meditation. And for me, meditation is about reminding myself that God is within me. So that separate and apart from the start and the close, there are several times during the course of the day when things may be becoming rather hectic, or might become confused with all the things that are coming at me. And I would take a pause during the course of the day and just center myself and remind myself, that God is within me as well, and just feel his presence, know that he's there, and know that there's that strength that I can draw on. And for me, meditation has really reinforced to me that presence. The analogy I share, even when I do my work, is that when you go to a party, you may go with your partner and you feel safe. So Carnival is coming, you go to a party with your partner and you feel safe. But if there's ever a fight in the crowd, you all can get separated. And knowing that God is within me I recognize that there is no separation. So there's that confidence now that I can go anywhere I want to go, because he can't get separated from me in a crowd. All I need to do is to just be there, be available for him, and that's what meditation is all about for me.
So you have three different analogies.
They're beautiful.
Coming home,
Yeah.
the water, and the,
Coming home, the diving deeper,
yes.
and the unity. And then I guess you in a way, I'm looking up there and seeing Trinity, and in a way you have sort of brought it the full circle in terms of Trinitization, if that's what the right word is, in terms of Christianity, because Christianity is that wholeness of unity, that Trinitarian understanding. And so when you came there with that wholeness within, which is inseparable, you sort of tied it to the Christian perspective of the Trinity, haven't you?
Yes.
And would you say that for you is a Christian sense?
Yes, because I meditate from a purely spiritual, at a spiritual level, where when I go into saying the Maranatha, it's because I'm recognizing that Jesus Christ is Lord, and He exists within me. You encounter people who do meditation from different perspectives, and when I do my work, I recognize that, so that as people meditate in my sessions, they may be doing it just to relax. But I think it's important for us to recognize meditation for all that it brings to us, whether it is from a purely secular level or from the spiritual level. But most certainly, as I engage with the groups that I lead, and in terms of carrying it into the Catholic school community, etc., it is in fact from that Christian perspective.
Yeah. And as the time goes on in this series, we are going to elaborate more on the nature of the form of prayer that meditation is, the contemplative prayer that it is, where it fits in the spectrum of prayer and prayer life. And so there would be a deepening of understanding through this series, because we primarily are focusing on meditation as a form of prayer. As Judy says, there are many ways that meditation can be practiced. It has become quite actually popular in the world as a form of relaxation, as a method that lowers your blood pressure, and there's scientific proof now. It lowers your blood pressure, it lowers your cholesterol, it calms you, it has a lot of physiological advantage. And as Judy said, we don't want to get away from that. Those are wonderful side benefits. If while you're praying, all these wonderful things are happening, well, more power to the whole practice. But our overarching intention in this program is to introduce and to deepen our understanding of it as a form of prayer.
And I think it's what Judy said, it's a deep theological truth in the Christian faith that God dwells with us. And that's why He came. He came to dwell with us. And God's Spirit, when Jesus was going, He said, I'm leaving you my Spirit. And therefore God's Spirit is in us. Whether we accept the Spirit of God or we don't, God dwells with us. And I think meditation just takes us into that awareness that God is with us.
Funny you should say that, but just this morning I read John Main, who, as Sister says, is the founder of this practice. I read we're taping this prior to your viewing it, and we're still in Advent. And I read his Advent message of today, of this week. And in the message, he talked about God incarnate in us. And of course, we are in the time of the incarnation right now. So, and I suppose that incarnate came home even more deeply to me this morning, because we are in this period of the incarnation, and because we don't necessarily think about Jesus being incarnate in us, because that's a very big and powerful word. And it goes with all you hear it in the literature all the time, as you say, theologically, about the indwelling, the indwelling of Jesus, So it's wonderful, because I think maybe the real Christianization is how much we consider this within us. So tell me, sister, well, let's go the other way. Tell me, Judy, how did you come to meditation practice?
Wow.
What led you here? Now, you don't have to give us the entire life story, but, because, The clock is over there.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And we do not have an
Okay,
infinite amount of time.
So let's do a quick version of this.
Yeah.
I went off to a place called Bethel, Maine, as part of my certification as an OD facilitator.
And what might OD mean?
Organization development, sorry.
Yes, okay.
And the town of Maine it's a T-junction, very reflective. And one of the mornings of the training sessions, we had a guided meditation by someone from India and a US gentleman. And it was the first time I had experienced meditation. I thought it was fantastic. So I came back to Trinidad saying, I have to find a meditation group. But something said to me I had to find it in the church. So I called around a few places and they all kept telling me, you know, we have a retreat coming up. And I said, no, I don't want a retreat. I want meditation. And I was becoming very frustrated in the search. And I went to Google and I found that there was this organization called the World Community for Christian Meditation, which had a group in Trinidad led by Sister Ruth. And I called and she didn't answer me. And I eventually dashed off an email to them and the World Community saying, I'm trying to find Sister Ruth and I can't. And they found her and she got in touch with me. I attended a group meeting with her. And simultaneously, I also found a Buddhist community here and had an opportunity to do it with them. But I felt at home with Sister Ruth's group, and the rest is history. She said, Judy, go form a group, and I did it, and for the last 8 years, that's been going on.
And the impact, Judy, what impact would you say, the greatest impact in your
Wow.
life? Or, okay, want a little minute to think?
No, boy. You know, the quickest way to say that is ask my daughter.
Yes,
But
they do
I've
say to ask the
certainly
people around
become
you.
a lot more patient, a lot more attentive in my listening, extremely focused, and like I said earlier on, very conscious of the fact that God is within me. So I'm very calm. I'm very calm, and that helps me in my professional work as well.
Wonderful. Okay, now you're on.
Okay, same question.
Same question.
Like Judy, strangely enough, even though I've been part of this community for so long, I went away on a 3-month retreat to Colorado. And there, coming away from the busyness of the community and everything, I went there and, of course, had a lot of time, you know, to spend just being quiet. And, I mean, there wasn't much where we were, just beautiful mountains and scenery. And so many of my days were just spent enjoying that and just peace and quiet. And I think the Lord just spoke to me about wanting to find that peace and quiet in the midst of the busyness, in the midst of the marketplace when I came back to Trinidad and to the community. And I think the word meditation just popped into my head one day while I was there. And so when I came back and I said, I just felt that need. Someone else who had been to Sister Ruth's meditation group on a Tuesday mentioned it to me. That's how God works, eh? Because really and truly, it popped into my head. I didn't know about Sister Ruth's group. Someone else who went on the Tuesday told me about it, and I said, you know what, that's it. So I gave her a call, and I went Tuesday night at the apartment in Gittins, and then she suggested, well, you know, why don't we? I think actually I said to you, we wanted a group here at Living Water Community. And she said, okay, and we chose Monday mornings. And that is, how long now? I can't remember.
4 or 5 years
Yes.
now.
So every Monday morning at Living Water Community at 9 o'clock. At first, I was there most Mondays, and then when I couldn't be, you know, there all the time, Sister Ruth said, you know, we have to keep it going. You know, it can't depend on you. And of course, well, the team and everybody else, so we know that, you know, on a Monday morning it's happening whether I'm there or not. And I think
in terms of the impact.
I think much of what Judy said, but I think that peace that you carry inside of you wherever you go. And I find now, you know, people talk a lot about getting so frustrated in traffic jams and that kind of thing. For me, that is no problem anymore, unless, of course, I have to be somewhere for a particular time. Well, maybe I might get a little agitated, but for me, traffic jam is no big thing anymore. I don't close my eyes, but I say, you know, pray the mantra, and I just find that total peace. And you kind of, again, it's that underwater experience of sort of seeing everybody rushing around, and you're just sort of there, totally at peace in the traffic, and whenever it clears, well, it clears, you know, and you just So I think it's just, for me, it is just carrying that peace around, you know, wherever
But it's a
you
great
go.
letting go.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
yes.
If it is that you're able to see all this frenetic
Yeah.
thing around you, but somehow you stay in this inner
Yes.
Yeah.
calm, you are letting go what sort of trapped you before and made you
Yes,
agitated, wouldn't you say?
Yes, definitely.
So it's sort
I
of,
think it's a feeling too of, I know in the past few years, of just knowing that God is in control. You know, just that sort of letting go and knowing that, you know, this is it. I really don't have any power here. God is the one, and giving it to Him. I think that's a lesson that you learn.
How did I get started? I started by, I lived an extremely busy life in Serval. This is the other hat that I wear. And
small hat.
Big
very,
hat.
very,
Giant
very
sombrero.
intense life. And I was always sort of rushing behind to get prayers in, because I was always rushing in at the last minute, and then to say more prayers was not really what I wanted. I just wanted to be quiet. But of course that was impossible in a lot of situations. And somebody lent me a tape by John Main on Christian meditation, and I started to listen to it. And eventually I started to practice it. And it was something that I knew as soon as I did it, that was what I needed. I needed somewhere where I could just be. I didn't have to talk, I didn't have to pray, I just had to be. And it attracted me to that. And the rest is history. I started a small group, and I met Father Lawrence afterwards, and we started to talk about meditation. And I think it has, the impact it has had on my life, it has made me live in the present moment. I don't sort of worry about what's going to come. A lot of anxiety has gone. I have a sense of peace, and like thou say, letting go. God is in control. Let go, let God. And as you get older, I think you realize that you pray, accept the things you cannot change, which is nearly everything.
Yeah,
And
practically.
therefore you might as well leave it in God's hands, because He's in charge and He's within you. And basically,
And so that
that's
also
it.
leads into the impact that it has had.
Yeah.
Has
It
been.
made me and makes me much more aware of creation, of things, of people. When I interact with people now, I have a deeper sense of listening to them than I had before.
Well, wouldn't you agree that it's sort of twofold? Because when you let go certain things that sort of clutter you, you actually see and are much aware of things that you were not noticing before.
Definitely.
And sometimes those are things at a deeper level. Sometimes those are things that you don't see immediately, and sometimes they are going on, you know, somewhere that you have to learn to be far more attentive. And that attentiveness comes from an attentiveness to yourself and an attentiveness within that can only in turn, you know, reveal that level of life of someone else's life. For instance, even in a conversation or listening to someone, as you said, you would, prior to meditation practice, for instance, not necessarily pick up things that you pick up because you are decluttered from other things. But I think what's so wonderful for me, hearing all your versions, and I've been teasing about, well, after Sister, let's go home. Really and truly, everyone does have their own experience. Is that prior to meditation practice, for me, and I'm sure for each of you, these are things, and I'm sure people listening to us must think, this all sounds wonderful, right? And we all know this in our heads. We know this in theory. But what I would like, and we can go to that now, about how to meditate, how do you do this, is that I think, well, I would testify to it, each of you have, that we are also living proof of the fact that this is possible. That these are not, this business of letting go and letting God, this business of, you know, being in the present moment, this business of finding your center, of the calm within, these things get bandied about every day. In spiritual literature, in secular literature, it's all there about all this inner calm and sense of inner life and inner peace. But how do you get there? How do you achieve this? What is it what does it take for us to be able to speak like this in an honest way about the experience of this thing that meditation practice has brought us. How do you meditate? How to meditate? What's the practice about, Judy?
Okay, so when we sit to meditate, we first of all become physically still. And we adopt a position in which our backs are upright, and we try to align the nape of the neck here with the spine. And the intention of that is really to keep you alert and aware. It is purported that if you hold this position, then you ought not to fall asleep. Notice how selective I am in my words. Yeah. And so, ensure that you're comfortable in a relaxed position, but holding yourself erect. And getting that body into that physically still position is probably the easier of the parts that I'm going to present. So when you're there, you may feel as if ants are biting, mosquitoes are biting, whatever, but try not to even fall into that temptation to interfere with it. So you're physically still. The other part of it is trying to slow down the thoughts of the mind, because we think about all sorts of things. What happened yesterday, what happened the day before, what's going to happen in the future. And we try to slow down that activity in the mind. And the way we do that is by reciting a mantra, a sacred word. The world community uses the word Maranatha, which means come, Lord. So for the duration of the meditation, which we start off at 20 minutes, we continually recite that silently in our minds. Now, it's not a complete removal of thought, because thoughts have a way of coming. But once you become conscious that you've stopped saying the Maranatha and thinking about tomorrow night's dinner or tonight's dinner, then you go back to the Maranatha.
Okay. Well, we have a few seconds left. So I'm going to give this little gong a tinkle, sound the gong, and let's see if we can practice and invite you to join us for the last few seconds in our meditation practice. Close your eyes, sit still, close your eyes, and repeat your mantra.